to order at 7. First on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we have the approval of minutes.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes.
A second.
Motion made by Mrs. Riddell, seconded by Mr. Fath to approve the minutes. Any discussion? Mrs. Riddell?
Yes.
Mr. Connick?
Yes.
Mr. Fath?
Yes.
Mr. Mashinsky?
Yes.
Albert votes yes, passes 5-0. Next, the approval of claims.
Make a motion, we approve the claims.
I'll second the motion. Motion made by Mr. Mashinsky, seconded by Albert to approve the claims. Any discussion? Mrs. Riddell?
Yes.
I'd like to just make a little discussion. There's a couple claims, and this might have been missed on my part, but I wanted to bring it to attention. It was claim 19459, 19460, 19463, and 19464. These claims are like we had a discussion in meeting 929, and they're regarding the town hall remodel. And partial of those, and I do have an understanding that generally you split 3 ways. I guess my perception coming out of that meeting, and I might have misunderstood coming out of that meeting, was that those were going to all come out of a $30K budget out of a town hall line item. So that was my understanding, and that's why I wanted to address those, because
No, my budget was 40,000, and then we discussed the ones that, remember the doors, and how I said they would have to be split out, because typically doors get split out, generator.
The doors, I do
Yeah.
remember that.
And
But
then the generator was just discussed way before
Okay.
that was even on the table. And I would like you to take the lead on that.
Yeah, because we had talked about that. It's typical for certain things where the departments
Mhm.
split it up. Because when we brought it up in the meeting, I think Olga said something about, well, they could, because we said this is their office, and you said something, that we could move them down to the sewage plant. That's when
Where
that
the
conversation
conversation
happened that night. That was the point of that conversation.
Mhm. And typically, if the remodel was done or not, those kinds of expenses, the security system, the doors, the generator, they would have gotten split anyway.
Yeah.
That's what those that's how we split those all up. So I was under budget on my 40,000, but I had stated at those meetings that you remember me saying about the door, how much they were.
the door, I do remember.
And the generator, like I
The
said,
generator,
that
for
was
some
months
reason-
ago. and-
Okay, that's why it's not.
I think the generator we talked about actually before we
Okay.
talked about the doors.
I know
and
we had
stuff.
talked about the price, and I said, I didn't think the generator was that expensive. I mean, I wasn't
Right.
really shocked at the price of that. I remember that, but I'm not, I don't remember that.
Mhm.
I really don't.
Right.
It
And that
was-
was long before even
Yeah.
the project was even under
But it's,
that
I
option.
mean, from now on, maybe to
Mhm.
clarify this,
Mhm.
could we say that when we're gonna have a big expenditure, that's part of the motion?
Yeah, I mean, that's fine,
Let's
that's
do
that's
that.
why it
well, I
was up
think
in
that's
discussion.
all I'm trying to get across
Yeah.
moving forward, like on improvements, especially because I kind of being the liaison for water and wastewater, I feel accountable for budgets and kind of how we go, and I want to make sure, even Dan is aware of, because I hold him accountable on the budgets, where money's coming from and being spent on, we're in town, and I do have the understanding
Mhm.
costs need to be split up at certain times for different things. But, that's just something I want moving.
And I think, Tom, to go back in history, I mean, this is your first year and Olga's first year. Historically, we've done this, and it's because the whole town will actually benefit from it
Mhm.
at some point in time, because it is a town as a whole. And I think that it's just something that probably we were remiss in not bringing it up again, probably
We're
so.
used to, we're creatures of
You know,
habit.
because we
do
know,
it,
we
but-
think you're gonna know, and that's not right, it really isn't. So you guys need to be told, so if we do that in motion form, if we do that in conversation to bring everybody on page of what's going on, but I don't remember that either, I really don't.
Well, and then, it'll help me, because if I understand that, I had a different what I'm explaining is I had a different perception. So, I would have been able to give more feedback, kind of like where we were budget-wise, if it was an item that should be go now or go a year or two from now, because we got to weigh different projects in the department, so that's the only thing. if it becomes a large enough item.
And I think typically we discussed that, why doing it now, just to split it out 3 ways, because my $40,000 is no longer in existence. So I remember discussing that, we're losing that money. You know, I mean, it's not being budgeted again.
Right,
So,
right,
yeah.
yeah, and I remember all that
Yeah.
too. But I think it was just so far back that we were talking about the generator, that was
Way.
it wasn't in the same time period.
Right.
And so when Tom asked me, and I said, no, I think it probably was in I thought it was 40,000, he said 30. But the point is that we need to make ourselves very clear what we're doing and where the money's coming from, so that everybody's on the same page, and questions can be asked at that time.
Right.
Because I know you're having a problem with your department, you wanna make sure that it's running and not in the red, and,
Sewage, yeah.
yeah, and I mean,
And it is. I mean,
it is, I mean, it's an issue, we need to think about that, so big expenditures need to be discussed, and I'm willing to do that, and I'm sure everybody else is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and
And I
our budget,
apologize.
and also, I mean, that's the same reason for MVH getting cut on our local roads and streets. I mean, the money's gotta go somewhere else sometimes, you know.
When I think like moving to next year, I think we're being more comfortable with our new sludge and everything else, so. But I just, that this year being, because we're learning, when you learn a new plant, you kind of go through all of your.
Well, you're learning a lot, you've learned a lot of stuff in a short,
Well, even like the costs
Right.
associated with all the different components, whether it's chemical costs, lab costs, the changes items doing, a lot of that, phosphorus removal and going through all those costs and how it impacts your department.
And I have to compliment you on what a fast learner you are, I mean, you really,
That guy,
you guys have done an excellent job. You really have,
Yeah.
of saving money, and this next year, I think it's gonna show it with the sludge.
I'm just concerned about the sewage out, I really am. I have to
Sure.
put that out there, I'm really concerned about the loss every month on that.
Well,
So
it
that
hasn't been
makes
every-
me worried.
it hasn't been every month, and there's, like I mentioned, there's certain items we're still waiting for payment on, so I think, at a large chunk, so we'll work through those details.
Yeah, which that sometimes is in itself, is not shown as an accounts receivable, it's coming, we just don't have it shown in
Right.
places.
it's not listed.
It's showing as dead expense all the time, but actually we're gonna be getting some money.
Yeah, I think sometimes, like, when you look at appropriations report, it can be misleading,
It is,
because certain bills are paid at different times.
right.
So you gotta really be careful, knowing what's being charged at different times.
And municipality budgeting is different.
And that could be an option in the future to budget utilities, so
Yeah,
That's what we've been
there's
working on.
there's a cap on each,
yeah,
you
and
know.
he's really working hard on that,
Mhm.
Lori. He's
And
I think
technically,
we're gonna have it.
Umball, when they come through and do a study, they do set you, your rate's based, all you have line items, and your rate is based on, it does have a budget.
Mhm.
So we know what each category, what you spend, so we can tell whether we're high, low, and you're gonna have different years, you're high and low in different line items. But that's kind of the thing we've been going through, is learning after our first Umball study how it actually is, so. I think we're gonna be good next year, so.
And that would go along with what you and I talked about, with you doing more of the budget too.
Oh, yeah, I'm more than willing to do it in-house budget
Yeah,
on Keystone,
absolutely.
First Utilities, more than happy to do that.
Yeah, I think that's great.
And I think we've been working on that, you give me plenty of information on that, so.
Is there any other discussion on this, questions or anything?
Well, did we go over, or you said we went under budget?
Of the came in under 40 for the
And then what happens
part.
to that money, like, it just gets redispersed?
So it's unappropriated money.
Like, is anybody's fund that has any left of budget money goes into?
It's unappropriated money because it was in the 2016 budget, so whatever that is just goes in. It's in the bank, we didn't
Right.
Okay,
use it, but
Basically
it's not
becomes
appropriate.
kind of like cash reserves.
okay.
Like money in the piggy bank.
Yeah.
And you said on your bid.
A little
Okay,
bit, yeah.
so,
What's that?
we had a motion, seconded, we had discussion, on the approval of claims, Mrs. Riddell,
Yes.
Ms. Peconic, Mr. Fath,
Yes.
Mr. Pachinski.
Yes.
Albert votes yes, passes 5-0. Next, we have tonight, Mark Severe, who's the superintendent of the Westville Correctional Facility, and he has a couple of presentations tonight for the police department and park department. So Gina and Olga and Darren. Mr. Severe,
Well, I got
they're
the
all
easy part.
yours.
I'm here to give you some money. So, help you out a little bit, okay?
You heard
And we have our staff
wanna do it?
photographer here, so I can get you some pictures.
Yeah, I need some.
Okay.
We're doing press release.
I'll have him email me and I can forward
Get
it.
over here.
Yeah, I was gonna get there first.
Darren, you need to come over here.
I was gonna send you over there.
You're done for the floor.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
We can take
Oh,
some
that's nice.
pictures here, okay? You smiling there?
I am.
Okay, I think we got it.
Here, turn this way.
So,
Uh,
thank you very much.
Turn this way, would you guys turn here on?
Oh, sorry.
I couldn't see the
Pay no
sign.
attention, I'm sorry.
That's fine, just get a picture like seen on TV.
Good.
Bubba, just camera.
As part of the facility,
Yeah.
we've got about
Yeah.
3,200 inmates, we've got over 700 staff. The vast majority of our staff comes from LaPorte County. Part of what we do during the year is we do food sales at the facility. For the inmates, part of that percentage goes to fund for the community involvement fund that we have. And I can use that fund however I see fit, as long as it's to go to some part of the community. A lot of times I'm not directed by my bosses to direct that funds to where they see needs across the state, not just here local. We've sent money to hurricane victims and earthquake, whatever the need is, we try to help out. In this case, I've been in the facility about 2.5 years. We hadn't really had an opportunity to give to the local community, so I talked to Mike and I talked to Darren on the phone a few times. And Darren has this new police academy, am I saying that right?
Citizens Police Academy.
Citizens, and he's graciously allowed us to be helping with that. And so we donated $2,000 to that fund to kind of sponsor that and get that up to the standards that he's wanting to do. Okay. And another thing is we have so many young parents at our facility, and kids 2 through 12 basically. And you can't help but notice Meadows Park. Am I saying it right? Right here that you've done so much work on. I don't know if you did the work or not, but it looks
Yeah,
nice. Okay.
right?
And I would have talked to Mike, and we knew there was a need for more playground equipment. So Olga, if I can get you up here,
Yeah.
we also give another check for $2,000.
Yeah, Bob, you probably should.
Yeah, come on, Bubba. Let's get next to me and smile real big.
You wanna get over in
You want on here, Bob?
Come on, Bubba.
Here,
there? Okay, one more. I got one.
okay.
Thank you.
Here,
Thank you
we're
very much.
Oh,
Good. All right.
so thank you.
All right. Thank you guys for having us.
Yep.
We'll keep you in mind next time. Okay.
Keep in touch. You have my number.
You have mine too.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Take care.
Or you want me to send those to you, or?
I'll get it off the, camera.
I'll give you my email address at work, and then I can forward them again. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
You'd have to see.
Okay. This will be a lot of,
Really?
very good that they've done this. Okay, next, election of officers.
I'd like to make a motion,
Okay,
keep the officers the same.
okay. Second?
I'll second that.
Motion made by Mr. Pshinski, seconded by Mr. Pfaff that the officers remain the same. Any discussion? Mrs. Riddell?
Yes.
Ms. McConick?
Yes.
Mr. Pfaff?
Yes.
I will vote yes. Mr. Pshinski?
Yes.
I'll make a motion that the liaisons, unless anybody wants to change, that the liaisons' positions stay as is.
Second.
Motion made by Albert, seconded by Mr. Pshinski, the liaison positions stay the same unless anyone has objection or wants to move or something. Any discussion? Mrs. Riddell?
Yes.
Ms. McConick? Mr. Pfaff?
Yes.
Mr. Pshinski?
Yes.
Albert votes yes, passes 5-0. Shall we skip over the attorney contract? See if he's paying attention.
Before we do this, I need to say something to you. You are a bargain. I appreciate
Thank you,
all the
Regina.
times that you have returned my calls, all the time that you've taken to do my email responses. I really have appreciated everything you've done, and I know you probably someday could go, oh my God, it's ridiculous.
He actually returns your email?
Yes, he does.
No.
He returns my calls.
He doesn't mind. I'm getting the short end of the stick.
Well,
That's how
sometimes.
Let's get a little louder, just.
No, I appreciate you, Ethan, I really do.
Okay, you want to review your contract that stayed the same?
Yeah, the only thing that has changed is the dates. All of the amounts.
Well, when you said
I thought you were
something
gonna
has
say
changed,
dollar
I was
amount.
kind of.
I know, I thought you were gonna say dollar amount.
He deserves it.
I mean, I know that, you deserve it, of course you deserve it.
I make a motion that we accept the attorney contract with the dates changed.
Second that motion.
Motion made by Mrs. Riddell, seconded by Mr. Pfaff to approve the attorney's contract with the dates changed. Is there any discussion? Mrs. Riddell?
Yes.
Ms. Peconic?
Yes.
Mr. Pfaff?
Yes.
Mr. Paszynski?
Yes.
Passes 5-0. Well, you hooked us for another day.
We made your day, didn't we?
Either I hooked you or you hooked me. I guess we'll see how this year goes.
And the year is still young. Sewage.
Okay, I just heard sludge bags a little bit ago and I was like, good, I got some data for you. Last 3 bags that went out over 16 tons, with our new hauler and our contract that they had to haul with semi, vehicles, I've been able to, get roughly 16 tons per bag, which basically, in a sense, every 4 bags is a free bag from what we were with Waste Management. I have seen one of the bills for 2 bags in a month, and it was still cheaper than 1 bag through Waste Management, so I'm real happy with that. I couldn't ask for better on the bags. We did have both dumpsters, the wheels were gone on them and it was dragging on the brackets. We're in the process of rebuilding one of the dumpsters. Right now I'm having Buchanan's make the pins and I cut them apart myself. So we're gonna do that, fix some decking in that dumpster and then go to the other one. But I'm not saying with the added load, just the years of lack of maintenance on the wheels and they're rotted off. So that's good.
Those are, what, oh, geez, 20 years old?
Yeah, I've got the invoice on my desk and, cause there was a dispute with Waste Management.
Oh, yeah, that they owned them.
They wanted them back and, so that was resolved.
We should've let them fix the wheels.
Well, you know, I'm thinking, all the times that we had problems with them and everything, they never stepped up to do any repairs on them in the past. Why all of a sudden did they want them back? We did have a situation with our alum feed system for phosphorus removal, and I thought it was freezing up. And the vendor, or the manufacturer also said that those lines were to be insulated. So I switched from feeding out at the clarifiers to feeding in the raw sewage inlet, and the problem cleared up. But I noticed where it's got pressure regulators in the pump room, and if they reach a certain pressure, then they're venting into the tank around the outside enclosure, or the inside enclosure, and I was getting like stalactites coming off of that drain line. And I called the manufacturer back again, and he seems to think that maybe we just got a bad load. So I'm just trying to get that load out of there. But I've got some piping to repair out on the clarifiers from where it split. So, and I'm gonna continue feeding in the raw as long as I'm getting the treatment I need until spring to where we can fix that stuff. The other issue I got is the intersection of Plain and West Jefferson Street. The day after Christmas I was working, I went driving down Plain Street and I looked over and there was a manhole standing wide open. So I stopped and put the lid back on. There was a cone there. Lid and the cone were about 3 foot away from the open manhole. And what it is, they put a riser in there because they obviously didn't have the right lid when they went to do it, and that riser is all bent up and it's not keeping the lid in place now. So I was out of manhole castings and lids. I got both a tall and a short one, and I talked to Bubba from the street department. His contractor that has done those in the past is willing to come in and redo that structure for $1,500. And I just think it's a liability issue. You know, luckily nobody drove through it or fell in it. if it's gonna continue to come off, I mean,
Is anything scheduled, is that scheduled or due for paving in there?
It's done already.
Oh, it's been done, because usually we do that when we pave, right?
Yeah, but this was quick, this is bad enough where you can't keep a lid in it.
Is there anything can we do it in-house, or?
I don't have the manpower and equipment to do that in-house, to be honest with you.
What do you have to, what's it entail? You're gonna have to cut around the riser?
You're gonna have to cut around it, dig it out, and then, cement, brick back in, put the unit in and either cement it or patch it. If you cold patch it, the cold patch is gonna break down and, vehicles will be moving the lid around within no time, casting.
How much concrete is that?
He told me it's, well, I don't know, it's $400 a yard right now, so, this time of year.
Do you need anybody?
But he said, no, he said he can do it, he can get concrete.
I think
He's gonna put a 7 bag in it and then put winter blanket on it for 3 days and he can drive on it. He's gonna shoot grade on it, cause it's sticking way up in the air. So we gotta cut, we had
It's
4
on
foot or
an
6
incline
foot.
of the hill, and I think originally when it was done, it probably looked good, but then the pavement always shrinks down. So now if you come through, you're catching it with a plow or whatever.
Concrete bricks, is that what they're putting back?
Okay.
Rings.
Concrete bricks back in?
Rings.
Oh, you're just using riser rings?
This one we gotta take it down. It's too high.
You gotta lower it, but you're still gonna put new ring. How
But put-
far are you up? You can take a ring down and come up to grade?
He says it's not easy to have to jackhammer around the lid to get it down, to get the low grade, so.
That's why I got the two different height lids. The standard casting is 7 1/4. They make a 5 1/4 and 7 1/4. And I got both just in case that they can't get their elevation right. But a lot of times there's old street brick underneath of there that they mortared in to bring it up to elevation.
Right.
What his company does, they'll take all that out and they use one piece concrete rings, which are far more durable. They set the casting at the elevation they want, and then they patch around it. The concrete is the best way to go when you cold patch or even hot patch around it. It will settle and shrink, and then you're hitting a manhole with the plow.
Well, the only thing we'd get now is cold patch anyway.
No, you get permanent patch, but it's expensive.
Right.
I'd rather have a concrete anyway, it's better, it's not gonna sink as well as asphalt will.
And this guy did.
Jay, he did say if we did the work,
Did a good job.
Mike, he said if we did the work, he'd do it for 1,000, so it's only, actually $500.
Okay.
I think that's pretty fair insurance and it needs, just for safety liability standpoint, I think it's well taken care of. Thanks, Bubba, for.
I mean, he can get to it right away, so it's up to you guys.
In whatever time it takes between now and when the work is done, can we take that off or put barricades around?
Oh, he'll have it marked off. Yeah.
But I mean, now before he can even get to it, in case
Yeah,
it comes out
I
again,
pulled it off
something
tomorrow
there.
morning.
Okay.
I think we're gonna be warm the next week. I mean,
I think he's gonna come, I gotta call him tomorrow, I told him let him know after tonight's meeting, after I talked to Dan and you guys. He said, he'd probably get him right away.
Okay.
I look at it as a liability issue. If that lid comes off, somebody tears a car up or falls in it, you got way more than $1,500 out, so.
To make, well, for $500 difference, it's, might as well have him do it.
Yeah.
And that's what they do every day too.
Right.
Make a motion that we repair the manhole lid and replace the casting brick for $1,500.
I'll second that.
who was it with?
Oh, but do you know who?
Yeah, it's Jamie Lebo, right? What's his name? Laura, you know what his company name was? S and K? LNS.
Okay. Motion made by Mr. Oh, sorry. Motion made by Mr. Fast, seconded by Mr. Mashinsky to enter into agreement with LNS to make the repair at West Jeff and
Plain.
Lane. Any discussion? Mrs. R?
Yes.
Mr. Connick?
Yes.
Mr. Fast?
Yes.
Mr. Mashinsky?
Yes.
Albert votes yes, passes 5-0.
I did wanna tell you, I have those castings in stock now, so they won't be waiting on us. I have both of them, already got them. I think as far as wastewater, that's pretty much it, same problems with the grit and fine screen that we've been having.
I just wanted to touch on that. I did get some correspondence from Don
Okay.
after the New Year's break, because it's probably been the last couple months of manufacturers, or last month it's probably been pretty, I think everyone's just getting back in the swing of things.
Yeah.
He reached out to Huber, their intent is still to resolve the issue with the auger. We spent probably roughly $2,000 this year in floor dry, probably 3 to 4 bags a week, I think is what we average, just to get it augered up, but we've been tracking that cost.
Did the different motor make a difference?
So it's something we're being persistent on. I'm trying to leave a paper trail along the way. So, but that's an ongoing issue. Another thing I wanted to mention, when Don did, we did do a sampling and a procedure for grit. The lab he sent it to did not exist, or was out. They don't do that type of grit analysis anymore. I got a third party. They're called Black Dog Analytics, and this gentleman named Jimmy Griffiths, he travels all over the country, and this is all he does is grit analytics. The test for us just to send him a sample to do what we would need, all we would be doing is testing the effluent, and it's $175, and he can tell us, do you have an issue, do you not? And then he can actually give you the size. If there is anything, he can give you a size, because it's a kind of a specialty, I think, to figure it out, because if you burn it off and stuff, you do destroy a little bit of the content.
Does he come and lift the sample, or do we send it to him?
We would be sending him the
Oh,
sample.
okay.
That's why it's to have him come out here gets a lot more pricey.
I wanted to clarify something for you. You said the effluent of the grid system. We're not gonna be testing plant effluent.
Right.
Okay, thanks. But I think it's $175, and I think it just creates a document for the town of Westville. And it's to help resolve the situation. I think it may and one of the interesting things talking to this gentleman, because there's not very many people that do this on a third-party basis. Most of your grid analysis guys, they work for a manufacturer that builds or design grid systems. He does do one for design processes. It's $750, which we might want to mention. That is a little bit more of he does a little bit further analysis on it, but that can give you the exact grid size and mesh size for the piece of equipment on designing. So I'll leave this here at the meeting if anybody wants to take a look at that, because he does provide other services as well.
So you want us to, we'll go ahead and do
Yeah.
the test?
Yes, I want to make a motion that we send a sample to Black Dog Analytics. It's called a sieve analysis for $125. So
125, what's it?
125. Sorry, I was wrong.
Well,
Probably gonna be
you said
some
170.
shipping and,
What?
probably gonna be some shipping and other
Yeah,
costs.
shipping costs.
Okay,
Yeah, so.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Motion made by Mr. Bassett, by Albert, to have Black Dog Analytical, or whatever it is, Analytical, do the testing. Is there any discussion? Mrs. Riddell?
Yes.
Mr. Conley?
Yes.
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Mr. Bashinsky?
Yes.
Albert votes yes, passes 5-0. Anything else on sewage?
No.
H2O.
Okay, one of the things I wanted to revisit, I met with Charlie Ray about the VFDs at the water plant on the high service pumps. Charlie looked at it all, took in the information, went back to his office, looked at the blueprints, and his initial thoughts were that those were 50-horse motors on the high service pumps, and he thought that the throttling valve would be adequate for the 50-horse. Then when he was looking through actual as-built of the plant, he realized that those are both 75-horse motors. And he called me, I called him, he called me back today, and he's in total agreement that we gotta do something to slow them things down. And, I had expressed the issue with the damage to the pipe, the control valve, the air in the system, and he said, well, it only makes sense if you're hammering that pump against a closed valve, it's going to create disturbance in air. So I'd like to, I believe I got Charlie's blessing on it, I'd like to revisit the 3 quotes I submitted. I talked to Nick Rice from Peerless Midwest. His price is pretty much right in the same area, or it might have been a 1% increase in the VFDs after the first of the year, but it's gonna come in right in around that area. We thought they had enough margin where they could honor that.
Dan, you said you had 3, there's 2 here.
Yeah, I got,
Peerless was your
Peerless Midwest was $29,290. Austin was 40,000 something. Hang on. Got the right fingers and my pages won't.
Yeah.
Peerless was 32, they're 29 and some change.
Now, Peerless was 29
Right.
and some change. Austin was,
42, 850, 250.
yeah.
And I don't have the other.
The third one was B.L. Anderson, and they were at 31,000.
At how much?
31,000,
Okay, so Peerless is the low one.
yeah. And they're the people that do our wells and.
Yeah, and Charlie's company is the one that did design the plant, so we had the original design engineer looking at it.
Yeah. So I mean, I feel real good about using them for this project, cause they are the pump people.
What do we have on water maintenance?
Water maintenance.
Yeah. Is there 3 accounts in water or 2 operating?
What's
Is there two accounts, 2 line items?
water, operating water maintenance?
Maintenance, okay. 'Cause
Two
maintenance is-
27,570.
How much?
227,570.
227,000. Okay. I think we should go ahead and do this, cause it's,
Yeah, 'cause basically right now you have a cavitating pump,
we're beating the.
Right.
self-destructing
Yeah.
itself, so.
In fact, we may had to make some repairs on it because of that. Since you've been superintendent, I think.
Yeah, I was telling him that we had got to Walton back in 3 years ago and rebuild that pipe at that valve. And then we had Gasoda in, I think it was, well, a year and a half now. They had to rebuild the motor and the controls on the valve itself. And he said basically it stands to reason, you know, you're trying to weight down something that's wanting to move. And
You wanna make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make, for the,
Want the numbers?
should we get a final vote on that? Like, he said it might change by 1%. So what, that's,
I mean, I would make it a not to exceed amount.
not to exceed.
1% would be about another $293.
Cause if you add 1% on top of that, is Peerless still low of the 3 then?
yes,
Yeah, cause I think B.L. Anderson's 31.
31,000 for B.O. Anderson, and I don't have a current price on them.
So if you said Peerless to not more than 30,000, would that take care of it?
Yeah, I would think.
Certainly use that as a negotiating tactic as well.
Sure.
Council's only approved this amount, so it has to come back to them
Excellent
and get
point.
additional
I
approval.
like that.
You know how crabby they can be.
It'd be,
Know
it
how
would
they
be,
are.
1% is 200, and he said 1% of just the VFD, right? Or the-
Yeah, he thought that would be the only thing there would be an increase on, would be the actual cost of the VFDs.
Less than $300 difference, right?
Yeah, so you wanna 29,500 and hold them to that? Cause if it's just the cost of VFD and not the labor, it'd probably be.
Yeah. I'll tell
Not to
you,
exceed 29,000. So I'll make a motion that we, install, is it 2 VFDs?
Yes.
Dan?
275 horse or variable frequency drive.
Install 2 75 horsepower VFDs to the centrifugal pumps at the water plant, not to exceed $29,500 to Peerless Midwest.
And be paid out of maintenance.
And be paid out of, water maintenance.
Right. Because that account was set up when we did the rates, that's what, the maintenance is what put the new water main in, we did along 421 and that, so that's what that's it for. I'll second the motion. Motion made by Mr. Bass, seconded by Albert to, have Peerless Midwest and amount not to exceed 29,500 to put in the 2 new, VFDs, I couldn't think of the letters, VFDs at the water treatment plant. Be paid out of, or maintenance, water maintenance. Any discussion? Did you want me to repeat that after?
Please do.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. R,
Yes.
pretty cocky that you got all your stuff signed, and
Got it all.
Mr. Connick,
Yes.
Mr. Fast,
Yes.
Mr. B,
Yes.
public vote yes, 5-0. Anything else on water?
Oh yeah, I got one more thing and you're not gonna be happy. I came to you a couple months ago about the old Main Street water tower, with the conditions and the problems with that. I started getting prices to look at doing something with it in spring. And then lo and behold, in that coldest snap that we had before Christmas, I'll try and explain to you what that station basically does. The water tower there is 10 foot lower than the water tower at the water plant. So there is an atmospheric valve in there on a 6-inch line which opens up one time that we got programmed a half hour a day recirculation pump pulls water out of that tower, then the atmospheric valve opens up and refills the tower up to that level. And that all works fine when you have heat in the building and you have a recirculation pump and the atmospheric valve stays shut. What ended up happening, the recirculation pump burned up, and when it did, it kicked out one leg of the electric in the cabinet, which was where the heater was plugged in. So then, course of a day, day and a half, the atmospheric valve froze, the piping of the valve froze, and it stuck open. So we get a call right before lunchtime that says there's water flowing out of the tower uptown. And it was literally flowing out of the holes in the roof. It was raining ice. So we got in there, got the thing shut off, and I tried to kick the pump on to get it to pull it down so it would. I wanted, if it just came out the overflow pipe on the leg, that would have been great, but coming out the top, it was water in the church, and it was freezing in the alley and whatever. So, couldn't get the pump to run, got the heaters back going, shut everything up, went back the next day, nice and warm in the hut again, kicked the pump back on to see if we could get it to pull down the water level, because I didn't want it to freeze solid, and the pump just started smoking. Kicked the breakers out again. So I was like, okay, I have no choice at this point. I got to shut everything down. I left the heaters on, and basically you got a 65,000 gallon ice cube sitting there. Going to be $3,000 to $5,000 to go in and repair the pump and the atmospheric valve. Guys, this
That tower has really no basis on the operation. That could be.
no.
What about draining it and using it for a radio tower?
I had met with Water Services, which is the company that bought out the maintenance contract with Phoenix, who built the new tower. And we were working on a quote of 4 different options. One is tear it down completely. 2 is take it out of service. You got to put sand in it. You got to keep some amount of weight in there. That's what the stability is of that. The 3rd option is try and repair the lid, weld it, do what needs to be done, and slap a cheap coat of paint on it and hope it stays. And the 4th option is it's coated with lead-based paint. You have to put a tent over the thing, sandblast it, remove the lid, repair it, put it back on. He was saying cost of demolition is around $40. Cost of out of service, repair the lid, fill it with sand, slap a cheap coat of paint on it is a little bit over $100. And the next 2 options are between $300,000 and $400,000.
How much to scrap it? 40?
40. That was, he was just saying off the top of his head.
You're working on 2 quotes, right? 2 different.
Well, I haven't got my information from the other. I'm talking the Leary Corporation, who is in spring going to be doing some work at Purdue's tower. They work all over Indiana.
They've done work here before.
Yes. So initially, when I was looking at this, I was looking at a, cost of what's it going to take to save it, repair it, and I'm just thinking, I know what we got in water operating, water maintenance, we can't fund a $300,000 or $400,000 repair. And Mr. Fath has got some information related to our possible expansion of what the value of that tank would be.
Yeah, and I guess, Dan brought this to my attention. I reached out to Don Voigt, basically he said, was that the tower serves no purpose and it could actually be a hindrance tying into WCC, so removing it is not going to be an issue. And I wanted just to double check with the engineer, because he has a lot of the proposed plans, kind of the initial plan for the plant, just to kind of run it by him as well. It being over $40,000, is there a threshold where you have to do like a bid process or like a form?
Well, I mean, the bid process would be $150,000.
I would still like to have both companies bid. There's actually like 7 companies that do that, specialize in that, but out of the 7, I've only had 2 contact me back. I think, a lot of them are down south. North Carolina, one in Kentucky. I don't think they wanna travel up to mess with it.
Probably like, depends on what the scrap price is.
Mr. Paul's
Well,
treasure.
and just so we're clear too, I mean, I wanna make sure that, I mean, I hear lead paint, I mean, make sure that that's being taken into account when scrapping this and then that's being treated properly, so.
Lead on the
We
inside.
wanna
of
make
it?
sure that's covered.
All we've got a record is the inside has been greased. At some point it had to initially been painted, but all they've been doing in the past is use that food grade grease and wipe down the walls. And that keeps it from rusting or deteriorating on the inside. But the outside is definitely lead paint. Cause I think they quit using lead paint in '77, so that thing's probably got 3 or 4 coats of lead paint on it.
Trying to think if they ever had.
Hazardous waste.
Well, let's see what prices come through.
Yeah.
Well, I guess what I need from you is I need direction. What do you want me to get a price on?
Well, I don't think it serves no purpose. So putting a couple $100,000 into it, have an operating tank that it's like putting lipstick on a pig.
Since I've been here 5 years, that atmospheric valve is screwed up 3 times. It's asking a lot to keep a 10-foot differential between 2 towers.
Right.
You know, the condition structurally, I don't really know, but we know the lid's gone. So, I mean,
That was built in like 1927.
Have we, like, I don't know what's on the tower, but do we have any negotiations where we, I know we probably a lot of people to put things onto that tower in town, but is there any negotiations that we?
do we have contracts with anybody?
That'd be
I
something.
think the only thing that we had was,
Fair, Keshne. Keshne had to put that on.
was he on that one or did he go on the
The other now, didn't you? Surf Air's on that one. Yeah.
Surveyors on that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's fiber, they ran fiber from that tower to the old building. You have to dispose of that, I guess, take that out.
I know they ran fiber out, or they're gonna run fiber out to the new one. The conduit's in, but they haven't run
You might
that.
wanna check with them and see what their time frame would be to move, or tell them what our plans are, and they might have to adjust their plans.
You know, I like it, it's an old tower, it's kind of a novelty, but realistically, guys, in the world of finances,
Yeah.
Darren, who's running fiber from?
those days.
Surf
are
Air,
over.
Okay, so it's still Surveyor, okay.
yeah.
Okay.
It's not Acme,
Okay.
it's all Surf Air.
That's all I got.
Okay, thanks. Something else too, oh, do you have something?
One other thing, Lori just gave me this tonight, said there's water coming out of the front of the Blackhawk, bubbling up, somebody called on the phone.
That's, near as I can tell, it's somewhere it's getting under the pavement up the hill, and it comes out intermittently. You know, I mean, you get a heavy rain, you get water out of there for a day or two, and then it dries up. It's definitely not a water leak.
Not a leak.
It's just traveling underneath the pavement.
It's been like that for like 2 years. And it's now, we had a couple of washouts in it last summer where the road is broken away. I don't know where it's coming from. We passed the potholes, but it comes up there all the time.
Could be coming through somebody's yards, so.
Have no clue.
I went over there when it's coming out of the pavement, drove over it 2-3 times, you know, had somebody drive the vehicle and watched it, and it just squishes a little bit more up, you know, and then 2 days later it's dry, stays dry till the next rain. So somewhere it's getting under the pavement from a side road or from the hill.
But it's not a main leak.
At least it's not a
No.
water, that's the best news we probably.
Yeah.
Could be a washout though, eventually.
Yeah, one thing we might wanna do, our maintenance agreement with South Coast is like 7 or 8 years old. They've expanded a lot, and we might have even got out of the scope of what the original work was and the wording, so I think we might need to look at that, what we've got and what we do.
So we probably have a contract with them.
Yeah.
If that keeps up in the spring, maybe we should dig that up there just to see if it's causing a sinkhole or whatever's going on. 'Cause it's been like that for 2 years.
At least 2 years.
Yeah, it's not pulling any sand out with it, it's just, you know, good
Never
water.
sunk down or anything.
But,
I'll keep an eye on it.
We'll go ahead and Tom and I'll get together and kind of go over stuff and get with you and Dan and what we do. Cause it's old, it probably needs to be looked at again.
They have, they're building a lot of duplexes and a lot of houses back in the back. And our responsibility is increased, but I'm not sure what it was when they first started building
See,
it.
when it started out, we weren't supposed to be their water department. You know,
Yeah.
so that's kind of what we've
That's what we've become.
become, and if
it's
they
been
want
at
us to be
least
their
since-
water department, they need us to pay us to be their water department.
Since I've been here, it's been that way. We do the metering, we do, install meters and locates and everything out there. Flush hydrants.
Yeah, locates is kind of part of the maintenance agreement, usually that's part of it, we'll get together on that.
I think I'd be interested in seeing that in general anyways.
Okay.
Whatever required, but
Maybe in the next week or two, we can get together and,
is that it there?
The South Coast Maintenance Agreement.
Yeah, I might make a copy of that.
okay, we'll get together on that. It's kind of a finance / utilities. Nothing else on water, Dan?
No.
Streets?
Nope.
You said no before I started.
Before you s-
Okay, next we have the water tower parking status. We at our meeting last month, we had quite a lengthy discussion about the parking issues at water tower. And we directed Ethan to draw up an ordinance pertaining to what we had discussed last month. And Darren, if you wanna, or you can go over that.
Basically, what it ended up being, especially with the new construction, we kept Allen John clear from Loop to 421, so there's no parking on Allen John from Loop going west to 421. There's no parking at all on Parkman Drive. And then the rest of Water Tower turns out that we allow parking opposite side of the mailboxes. And with us doing that, and then obviously residents will have to follow state statute as far as fire hydrants and stop signs, that's gonna thin the parking out quite a bit, and it still offers parking to the residents that are there. So I think it's an excellent ordinance with the least amount of impact to the people that live in that subdivision. I think it's an excellent compromise. And that should take care of, that should take care of all of the multifamily homes that are being built, the new expansion on Casey's. I think that covers a lot of that and cleared out quite a bit.
I think, yeah, I don't think we had anybody irate at the meeting. I mean, I think it worked out well. Last month. So-
I will thank Darren, he and I kicked this ordinance back and forth more times than we probably both cared to do in terms of tweaking this and getting it where it could be easily understood. So I appreciate Darren's help with that. The one thing I will call out to your attention is that there is an Exhibit A here that's supposed to depict the areas that are no parking. We will need to just make sure that we get that put together here relatively. Darren's got the aerial photograph. I think we just need to kind of designate on there what areas are not parking.
Absolutely, I can do
So that's why that's not included here, but we'll work to get that in place.
Alwa's got all the signs and most.
Okay, we have ordinance 2017-1, it was an ordinance of the town council, town of Westville, Indiana, LaPorte County, designated no parking areas within Water Tower Place subdivision. I will read it by title only. Unless anybody wants it read in its entirety.
Usually the attorney reads it.
Rate of the contract will go up a little bit. I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance 2017-1 on first reading.
Second.
Motion made by Albert, seconded by Mr. Pshinski to approve ordinance 2017-1 on the first reading. Is there any discussion? Mrs. Riddell?
Yes.
Mr. McConnell?
Yes.
Mr. Bath?
Yes.
Mr. Pshinski?
Yes.
Albert votes yes, passes 5-0. Do we want to approve it tonight?
This is gonna be the years.
I'll make a motion that we suspend the rules and adopt ordinance 2017-1. Motion made by Albert, seconded by Mrs. Riddell to suspend the rules and adopt ordinance 2017-1. Is there any discussion? Mrs. Riddell?
Yes.
Ms. McConnell? Mr. Pfaff?
Yes.
Mr. Pshinski?
Yes.
Albert votes yes, passes 5-0. Yeah, 3 of them here to sign. Streets, that's all we had on streets. Parks,
Once you open the check.
yeah, we've got a check here.
Karen gave me this.
Yeah.
So you took off with your check.
Yeah.
It's hard to cash those big ones.
I know.
Get sneaking through. Anything else on parks? Police?
Nope.
That was going.
Sorry, I had to.
Pinch me, Tom. You get another strike. Finance, we don't have anything, I believe. Miscellaneous?
I do have one thing under miscellaneous.
Okay, go ahead.
Since Darren didn't have a report this evening. This time.
You before.
That's, in your December meeting, if you'll recall, we approved a uniform conflict of interest disclosure statement for Tom for 2016. That relates to Tom's ownership in New Durham Hardware and the fact that the town does business with the hardware store. I need to again approve that same exact form, just effective for 2017. So if the council is so inclined, I would appreciate a motion to approve that disclosure statement this evening.
I'll make a motion. I'll second it.
Motion made by Mrs. Riddell, seconded by Ms. McConick to approve the conflict of interest statement for 2017. Is there any discussion? Mrs. Riddell? Ms. McConick? Mr. Pratt?
I'm gonna remove myself from the vote.
You abstain?
Abstain from the vote.
Okay. Mr. Chinsky?
Yes.
Robert votes yes. It has 4 yes and 1 abstention. Thank you. Anything else miscellaneous? Citizens' comments? Yes, sir.
I have a request, if I may.
Sure.
With the board, we talked to the town, I think Lori, my site manager Becky, I'm Brian McCallan.
Okay.
I'm a management agent owner of Westville Apartment Center on 500 South,
Mhm.
Associates in Development. And I had my manager Becky contact the city, asking if we could get some kind of break on the sewage bill. We had a water line break. And we found we had to get hold of the phone real quick. We didn't realize it was there until we noticed there was a pond in the back in the swales. And a little more than a pond, it looked more like a skating rink. But apparently a heater blown out in the laundry room and we had a split pipe. So, our water bill normal is 1,400 to 1,600. Our water usage average is 55,000 gallons. Okay, I think in December, our bill or usage was 55,600 for November. Well, actually, our bill this month for last month was 158,000 gallons. So we had a pretty good sized little water leak undetected for a while. I was just asking if maybe we could get some kind of adjustment on the sewage bill. I know we got to pay for the water. But
We've had this come up recent history on adjustments, and I think we have not made any adjustments, is that correct?
If you help us out, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Is that correct?
Yeah, I think we.
I'm trying to think of the last.
It was after the school,
After the
you
school.
decided not to do more.
We
because
decided
the state board of
Our
accounts is
November
frowned
usage
upon
was
the-
55.4. 55.6, and then our usage December to January is 158,000. So.
And we put into place a procedure concerning those because of the State Board of Accounts, that they wanted to have some limitations in place on those. Primarily, without the resolution in front of me, but I thought that basically unless the town was somehow at fault, that they were
Well,
not
I mean,
going to be.
excuse me if I may, sometimes the towns have that, like for pools, they have like a ticket
A pool
or
credit.
whatever they call it, you know, one time.
We don't,
I know.
what we
I'm
do
saying a lot
on, what
of
we do on
people-
swimming pools is you can do a hydrant pull, we put a meter on the hydrant, that way you're.
Well, that means higher water truck comes and fill it up too, so I mean.
Right, but they do that, they do it off a hydrant pull.
I
we know
see
exactly.
that now, right, yeah.
So what, do we have with the State Board of Accounts, or what was our policy, do we have?
You guys passed after the school, episode, you guys, I think it was a resolution form.
Yeah, I believe it was.
Passed that because of the State Board of Accounts,
Because the state board of accounts had said that you had to have some standards in place for those, so you weren't just, randomly doing those type of
So
adjustments.
what are our standards?
Not doing it.
They're not doing
It's
it.
not getting carried?
No, that's what it was, but you want you to say.
I believe, that my recollection was that they would not be approved unless it was basically shown that it was some part of the town system that contributed towards that.
If we were at fault, we would
Right.
do it. And state board of accounts was, they were recommending that as well.
So we can't, by resolution.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming out here. You guys are from Wabash or something?
I am, yes, sir.
Is there anything else? Motion to adjourn.
That'll be it.
Second motion made by Mr. Shinsky, second by Albert to adjourn. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Okay,
At 7:55.
Oh, you did it?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
He's got